Picture this. It's, say, 8:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. The dinner dishes are clear, or, at least they're soaking in the sink, which totally counts.
That
The
counts.
kids, if you have them, are finally asleep. The house is quiet. You settle onto the couch. Your partner settles onto the couch right next to you. You're physically maybe 6 inches apart, thigh to thigh.
Sounds pretty intimate so far.
It does. But then you pull out your phone to doom scroll the news or check one last email that definitely didn't need checking. And they pick up the remote and turn on Netflix. And suddenly, even though you're sharing the same cushions, breathing the same air, you might as well be on different planets.
That is the classic parallel lives scenario. It's something John and Julie Gottman talk about a lot in the 7-Day Love Prescription. It's this incredibly common, almost invisible crisis where we manage the logistics of life together perfectly.
Right. The mortgage is paid. The schedule's all synced up. The trash goes out on Wednesdays.
Exactly. But we lose the actual biological tether to one another.
It's the roommate syndrome. We become these highly efficient logistics managers who just happen to sleep in the same bed.
Yep.
And that, I think, brings us to the mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We aren't just talking about romance today. We're not talking about rose petals or fancy date nights or some grand gesture.
No, we are talking about biology. We've pulled together a huge stack of research, from the Gottman's data-driven work to the attachment theory and how we love by Milan and Kay Yurkovich.
And the psychological frameworks in Fighting for Your Marriage, even some insights from Les and Leslie Parrott.
Yeah, a lot of material.
And the goal is to prove something very specific. We want to show you that touch is not just a nice to have. It's not the cherry on top.
No, it's a biological requirement for your physical health, for your immune system, and for your stress management.
It's a big claim.
It is, but the science backs it up. We are dealing with what psychologists call skin hunger. In our modern high-speed lives, touch gets put into one of two boxes: quick distracted hello peck, or a prelude to sex. And we're missing this massive vital middle ground that actually keeps us sane.
So let's start with that parallel lives thing, because I feel like a lot of people listening will recognize themselves in that image. The couple on the couch.
Oh, for sure.
It's not that they hate each other. They're not fighting. They're just drifting.
It's insidious because it doesn't feel like a crisis. It just feels like, well, a Tuesday?
Right.
But the 7-Day Love Prescription highlights that when you stop touching, you stop signaling safety to each other's nervous systems, you drift apart, not because of a big argument, but because of a lack of adhesion. You lose the glue.
And when life gets stressful, which it always does, the instinct is usually to withdraw, right? We go into our own corners to lick our wounds. I know, I do that. When I'm stressed, I don't want to be touched. I want to stare at a wall.
Precisely. That is the default human response to stress. Conserve energy, protect yourself. But the research in Fighting for Your Marriage flips that entirely on its head. The authors have this great line that I absolutely love. They say, when times are tough, the tough get hugging.
It's catchy, I'll give them that.
It is, but the science behind it is profound. They argue that contrary to our instinct to pull away and isolate, physical contact is the single most efficient way to de-escalate tension.
I like the word efficient. I'm always looking for the shortcut to feeling better. And you found a study that backs this up with hard numbers. The Karen Gruen study.
Yes, from the University of North Carolina. And this study is crucial because it moves us away from just, feelings and into actual physiology.
Into the data.
Exactly. So Gruen and her team brought couples into a lab. They had them do very simple, low-stakes things: hold hands, talk about a happy memory, and share a brief hug.
So pretty basic human connection stuff.
Right. But then, and this is always the mean part of science, they subjected them to a major stressor.
Of course they did.
Usually it was public speaking, which terrifies most people, or like difficult math problems. Then they measured their physiological markers.
And I'm guessing the people who hugged didn't just feel warm and fuzzy inside.
It was measurable. Right there in the blood work and on the heart monitors. They saw significant increases in oxytocin, and get this, significant decreases in blood pressure compared to the couples who didn't hug.
Wow.
The takeaway is that holding hands isn't just a romantic gesture. It's a physiological buffer. It literally armors your body against the wear and tear of the world.
That idea of a buffer is so interesting. It implies that the stress still hits you, the math problem is still hard, the speech is still scary, but it doesn't damage you as much.
Exactly. You still have to deal with the angry boss or the traffic jam, but your baseline physiological state is just more resilient. You aren't, redlining.
Okay, so let's get into the specifics, because the title of this deep dive involves a very specific number, 20 seconds.
The 20-second hug.
Now, I have to play the skeptic here. Why 20? Why not 10? Or a solid 15? Is there actually a biological stopwatch running in our veins, or is this just a catchy number for a book title?
You know, it's funny, but there's a biological stopwatch. Surprisingly.
Really?
Yeah, this comes straight from the Gottman research, which is famous for being incredibly data-heavy. They studied thousands of couples, and they found that it takes approximately 20 seconds of sustained contact for oxytocin to actually metabolize and flood the bloodstream.
We hear oxytocin thrown around all the time as the love hormone or the bonding hormone. Can we clarify what it actually does here? Because I think people just imagine little cartoon hearts floating in their blood.
It's a bit more functional than that. Think of oxytocin as the chemical opposite of cortisol.
Cortisol being the stress hormone.
Right, cortisol is the alarm bell, the fight or flight juice. Oxytocin is the all-clear signal. It promotes bonding, it lowers blood pressure, and it reduces fear responses. But, and this is the key, it doesn't dump instantly. It's not a light switch.
It's more like a dimmer switch.
It's a dimmer switch. Exactly.
So if I give my partner a quick 2-second squeeze before I run out the door.
That's a greeting. It's polite, it's socially nice, but biologically, it's kind of a dud.
A dud?
A 2-second hug doesn't flip the chemical switch. It doesn't give the gland enough time to release the hormone in a meaningful way. A 20-second hug is like taking a pill. It actually changes your body chemistry.
As a huge distinction, a greeting versus a pill.
And it connects to something deeper called vagal tone. This is a concept referenced in the Gottman materials and the science of trust. It refers to the vagus nerve.
Which is that big nerve running from the brain down through the body, right?
Correct. It wanders through your heart, your lungs, your digestive system. I mean, it touches almost everything.
Okay.
Think of the vagus nerve as the brake pedal for your stress response. When you get stressed, your sympathetic nervous system slams on the gas, your heart races, muscles tense up. The vagus nerve is the parasympathetic response. It's the brake that slows you back down.
Okay, so if I'm stressed, my engine is revving. High vagal tone means I have good brakes.
Exactly. High vagal tone means you have a sensitive, responsive brake pedal. You can slam it on and calm down quickly after a scare. Low vagal tone means your brakes are mushy. You stay stressed and wired for hours after the event is over.
And hugging tightens the brakes?
Hugging, specifically, that long, sustained pressure of a 20-second hug, stimulates the vagus nerve. It physically stomps on the brake pedal. It forces your heart rate to slow and your cortisol to drop.
So if I come home from work and I'm wired and frustrated and I just sit on the couch and scroll on my phone, my brakes are mushy.
You're letting the engine rev.
But if I engage in this 20-second hug, I'm mechanically helping my body slow down.
You are biohacking your own nervous system. You're using your partner's body as a regulator for your own. And it goes even deeper than just stress. There was a study by Sheldon Cohen that found people who hugged more frequently were actually more resistant to infection.
Wait, like the common cold.
Yes. They had better immune system markers. Makes sense if you think about it. Stress suppresses the immune system. So if you're constantly flooding your body with cortisol, your immune system takes a hit.
But if you're constantly buffering that stress with oxytocin and vagal stimulation,
Your immune system stays robust.
so when we say this is a biological necessity, we are not kidding. It's literal health advice. If you want to stay healthy during flu season, hug your partner.
It's cheaper than supplements and a lot more fun.
Now, we're talking about daily stress here, traffic, emails, annoying bosses. But the sources you pulled also touch on something much heavier. There's a story from Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts about a woman named Brigitte Gurney.
This story, it really just stops you in your tracks. It illustrates the power of touch in a life or death context. This happened in New York City. Brigitte Gurney was a pedestrian, and she got trapped beneath a collapsed construction crane. A 35-ton crane. She was pinned under it for 6 hours. You can imagine the terror, the pain, the shock. Her legs were just crushed.
I can't even imagine. The isolation of that pain must have been overwhelming.
Well, that's just it. She wasn't isolated. While the rescue crews were trying to figure out how to move this massive piece of steel without killing her, a police officer named Paul Raganese crawled into the rubble with her.
And what could he do? He couldn't move it.
He couldn't give her morphine. He wasn't the doctor. He held her hand.
That's it.
For the entire time, while heavy machinery is moving above them, shifting tons of steel, he just held her hand.
Wow.
Just held her hand. That's it. He squeezed her hand, and she squeezed back. And Brigitte later said that it wasn't the medical attention or the promise of rescue that kept her alive. She said it was the touch of that stranger's hand. That connection gave her the will to survive.
That gives me chills. It really highlights that touch communicates something that words just, they can't reach. You can tell someone it's going to be okay, but holding their hand makes it true in a primal way.
It communicates safety and hope on a level that bypasses the logic center of the brain, which is screaming, I'm going to die, and goes straight to the survival center. It says, you are not alone. And for a social species like us, not alone means I can make it.
And to bring this back to marriage, the Parrotts cite a UCLA study that is just as staggering, specifically about longevity.
Yes. This study focused on type A men, you know the type,
Oh.
driven, high-stress, competitive.
The prime candidates for a heart attack.
Exactly. And they found that if these men hug their wives several times a day, their life expectancy increased by nearly 2 years.
2 years just from hugging. That's a better return on investment than any diet or exercise plan I've ever seen.
It's that buffer effect again. Touch lowers the wear and tear on the cardiovascular system. It literally saves your heart.
Okay, so we've established the why. We need the oxytocin. We need to hit the brake pedal on our stress. And apparently we'd all like to live 2 years longer. But let's get practical.
Yes.
Because I know there are listeners thinking, okay, great, but if I just randomly grab my partner and hold them for 20 seconds while they're making dinner, they're going to ask me what I broke.
Well, what do you want?
Exactly. It can feel performative if you just spring it on someone. So how do we actually do this? The sources give us a couple of rituals. Let's start with the 6-second kiss.
This is another gem from the 7-Day Love Prescription. The advice is simple. Every time you part ways for the day or reunite at the end of the day, the kiss should last for 6 seconds.
Again, with the specific timing, why 6? Is there a chemical release at 6 seconds too?
Not a chemical one, but a psychological one. Think about your typical goodbye kiss.
It's a peck.
It's a peck. It's barely a brush of the lips. You're usually looking for your keys or checking your watch while you do it.
Guilty. It's a punctuation mark, not a sentence.
Exactly. A 6-second kiss requires you to stop. You have to physically stop moving. You have to be present. You have to actually notice the person you're kissing. It creates a threshold moment.
It stops the autopilot.
Right. Gottman calls it a ritual of connection. It signals that the relationship is more important than the busyness of the morning. It just sets a tone.
Okay, so that's for greeting and parting. But what about when we're actually trying to relax? How We Love introduces something called holding time or the comfort circle. This one felt a little more advanced.
It is a bit more advanced,
Yeah.
and honestly, it can be more challenging for some couples. The practice is to spend time simply holding each other, cradling your partner with no agenda, no talking even, just listening to their breathing, feeling their weight.
And when you say no agenda, let's be real about what the sources mean. You mean sex.
I do. And this is where the Yurkoviches really dive into the psychology of attachment. For a lot of people, and the research does skew towards men here, though it's not exclusive touch, has been strictly categorized as foreplay.
Right. If we're cuddling on the couch, the assumption is, okay, this is leading somewhere.
And if the partner just wants comfort, just wants to be held to reduce stress, that signal gets crossed. The partner who sees touch as a stepping stone to sex might feel confused, like, wait, why are we doing this if nothing is going to happen?
Or just awkward. This feels weird. I don't know what to do with my hands. I feel trapped.
The text mentions that skin-crawling feeling, that I need to do something impulse. And the goal of holding time is to rewire that association. We need to train the brain to associate touch with safety and comfort, not just eroticism.
It sounds like this really gets at those attachment styles. If you're an avoidant type, this kind of non-sexual intimacy probably feels like being smothered.
100%. If you grew up in a house where feelings weren't shared and touch was rare, sitting there being held can feel incredibly invasive. It can trigger anxiety at first, not soothe it.
So for the listeners who might feel that awkwardness, what's the advice? Just suffer through it.
Basically, yes, but with communication. Acknowledge it. You can even say, hey, this feels a little weird for me. I feel restless, but I'm staying. How We Love emphasizes that this is a learned skill. It's like yoga for your emotions.
If you've never stretched those muscles, it's going to hurt a little.
It is, but the resistance goes down. You're teaching your body that intimacy doesn't always have to be a performance or a prelude. Sometimes it's just presence. And that is profoundly healing.
So, to recap the toolkit we've got, a 20-second hug to metabolize oxytocin, the 6-second kiss to stop the autopilot, and holding time to rewire our brains for safety and comfort.
It's a complete medicine cabinet for curing that skin hunger.
And it brings us back to that couple on the couch at the beginning, the ones 6 inches apart but worlds away. If they implemented just one of these,
They wouldn't be parallel lines anymore. They'd be intersecting. And that intersection reduces stress, boosts health, and strengthens the marriage. It's a huge return on a very small investment of time.
but it requires overcoming that inertia.
That's the hardest part. The drift toward roommate mode is like gravity. It happens automatically. Connection requires energy. It requires a decision to put down the phone and engage.
Which brings us to our challenge.
We always like to give you something to do. And this one is simple, but I warn you, it might feel like the longest 20 seconds of your life the first time you do it.
I can already hear people counting in their heads. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi.
The challenge is this. When you get home today, or when you see your partner next, engage in a full 20-second hug.
Walk us through it. Stand up.
Stand up, belly to belly, arms around each other. And here's the rule. Do not let go before the time is up. Even if it gets quiet, even if you giggle, even if your partner asks, "What are you doing?"
Just tell them, I'm metabolizing oxytocin. Hold on.
Exactly. I'm adjusting my vagal tone. Give me 10 more seconds. But seriously, try to pay attention to your body. Don't just count. Feel what happens around second 15.
The shift.
The shift. You'll feel the shoulders drop. You'll feel the breath deepen. You might even feel a little heavy. That is the biology of connection kicking in. That is your body saying, I am safe.
And then do it again tomorrow. Make it the new normal.
Because, as the sentiment goes in the research we looked at, touch is the first language we learn when we're born, and it's the last one we need.
That's a powerful place to leave it. Go get that oxytocin. Thanks for listening to this deep dive into the biology of connection. We'll see you next time.